Have you ever laughed along with a joke, only to realize you were the punchline? The worst part isn't the laughter. It's the moment someone unexpectedly steps forward and changes everything you thought you knew. That was the day my entire life turned upside down because of a charity date auction. One humiliating prank and my sister's best friend, who refused to stop bidding no matter how high the price climbed. Before we begin, if you love emotional stories filled with unexpected twists and heartfelt moments, please take a second to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Kindness of Power. It truly helps the channel grow. Also, tell us in the comments which city and country you're watching from. We'd love to know where our amazing viewers are joining us from. My name is Ethan, and throughout high school, I had perfected the art of being invisible. Not because I wanted to disappear, because people simply looked through me. I wasn't the captain of the football team. I wasn't class president. I wasn't even the funny guy everyone remembered. I was just there, quiet, reliable. The guy teachers trusted and classmates borrowed homework from before forgetting I existed again. My younger sister, Lily, was my complete opposite. She lit up every room she entered. Everyone adored her, including her best friend Ava. Now, Ava was impossible to ignore. She was beautiful, confident, funny, and somehow managed to make everyone around her feel important. Even my parents loved her like another daughter. The only problem? She barely acknowledged me. Whenever she came over, she'd smile politely. "Hey, Ethan." "Hey." That was usually the entire conversation. I figured I simply wasn't her type, or maybe I was just Lily's awkward older brother. Eventually, I stopped wondering. Then our school announced its annual charity fundraiser. This year's main attraction? A bachelor and bachelorette auction. Students volunteered, or were nominated, to be auctioned off for a harmless dinner date, with all proceeds going to the local children's hospital. I never planned to participate. Unfortunately, my friends had other ideas. Well, friends. Someone secretly submitted my name. By the time I discovered it, posters with my face were already hanging across school. Ethan Parker, Mystery Bachelor. Underneath was a handwritten note someone had added. Starting bid, $1. The hallway exploded with laughter every time I walked past. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. I tried convincing the student council to remove my name. "No refunds," they joked. "It's for charity." I couldn't exactly argue against raising money for sick children. So I stayed, embarrassed, humiliated, counting the hours until the event ended. The gymnasium was packed. Parents, teachers, students. Music echoed through giant speakers. While the auctioneer joked with the crowd, one by one, contestants walked onto the stage. Cheerleaders received hundreds. Athletes reached over $1,000. Everyone applauded. Everyone laughed. Then my name was called. Silence. Walked onto the stage under bright lights that suddenly felt like interrogation lamps. The auctioneer forced a smile. Our next bachelor, Ethan Parker. A few scattered claps. Someone coughed. Someone else laughed. "Let's start at $10. Nothing. $5. Still nothing. Heat rushed into my face. Every second felt like an hour. I wished the microphone would explode. $1? The auctioneer finally sighed. Someone in the back shouted, "Too expensive!" The crowd erupted. Even a few teachers struggled to hide their smiles. My stomach sank. I stared at the floor. Maybe if I didn't look. Maybe this nightmare would end faster. Then a voice rang through the gym. $500. Everything stopped. The laughter disappeared instantly. Heads turned. Mine included. Standing confidently near the center aisle was Ava, Lily's best friend. She held up her bitter paddle like this was completely normal. The auctioneer blinked. $500? She nodded. "I said 500. Whispers spread across the audience. My sister looked even more shocked than I was. "Ethan's worth more than $1. The room became strangely quiet. The auctioneer recovered. $500. "Do I hear 6? Another paddle rose. 600, Ava answered immediately. 1,000. Gasps. Students pulled out their phones to record. What was happening? This had to be a joke, right? A senior football player laughed. 1,200. Ava didn't even hesitate. 2,000. Now people weren't laughing anymore. They were staring at her, at me, at whatever impossible scene was unfolding. The football player slowly lowered his paddle. The auctioneer looked delighted. We have $2,000. Any higher? Silence. Sold. The room burst into applause. I couldn't move. $2,000 for me. It made absolutely no sense. After the event, students surrounded Ava with questions. Why Ethan? Is this a prank? Are you serious? She ignored every single one. Instead, she walked straight toward me. I struggled to find words. You didn't have to do that. I know. Then why? She smiled. A real smile I'd never seen before. Because someone should have. That answer only confused me more. Before I could ask anything else, Lily stormed over. Ava! What? What was that? Ava looked completely calm. I won the auction. You spent $2,000. It was for charity. You could have donated without embarrassing yourself. Ava crossed her arms. I wasn't embarrassed. Lily stared. So what? So you actually want to go on this date? Ava's cheeks turned slightly pink, obviously. The world tilted. Surely I had misunderstood. She noticed my expression. Ethan. Yeah? You are still coming, right? I laughed nervously. This is still a joke, isn't it? Her smile faded for just a second, long enough for me to notice something I'd never expected. She looked hurt. No, she whispered. It never was. At that exact moment, I realized the biggest surprise wasn't that Ava had bid $2,000 for a date with me. The real surprise was the way she looked at me as if she'd been waiting years for me to finally see what had been right in front of me all along. But I had no idea that the truth behind her impossible bid would uncover a secret she'd been carrying since the day we first met. And when I finally learned that secret, nothing in either of our lives would ever be the same. The ride home that evening was painfully quiet. Lily sat in the front seat with her arms crossed, stealing confused glances at Ava every few minutes. I sat in the back, replaying everything that had happened over and over in my mind. $2,000 for one charity date. None of it made sense. The next afternoon, Ava texted me, "Dinner tonight? 7 o'clock?" I stared at the message for nearly 5 minutes before replying. Sure. When I arrived at the restaurant, she was already waiting outside. She looked elegant, but not in an over-the-top way. She had simply dressed like someone who genuinely cared about the evening. For a moment, I wondered if I was dreaming. As we sat down, the conversation was awkward. So, I began. So, she smiled. I have to ask. I know. Why me? She looked down at her glass before taking a deep breath. Because I've been waiting for this chance for 6 years. I blinked. 6 years? She nodded. You probably don't remember. I think I'd remember meeting you. You met me before Lily and I became friends. That stopped me. She continued quietly. When I was 13, my parents were going through a terrible divorce. I barely talked to anyone. One afternoon, I was sitting alone outside the library crying. I searched my memory. You walked past me. I did? You asked if I was okay. Slowly, pieces began falling into place. There had been a girl, crying. I had offered her my hoodie because it was cold. Then I bought her a hot chocolate from the cafe across the street with the little money I had in my pocket. You stayed with me for almost an hour, Ava said softly. You never asked my name. You never tried to impress me. You just listened. I remembered, barely. To me, it had been an ordinary afternoon. To her, it clearly hadn't. You told me something I'll never forget. What? She smiled through watery eyes. Bad days don't last forever. Sometimes people just need one person to remind them their worth. Staying for... I froze. I had actually said that. My parents finalized their divorce a month later, she whispered. I was in a very dark place. Ethan, her voice trembled. There were nights I honestly didn't know if life was worth living anymore. I couldn't breathe. But every time things became unbearable, she reached into her purse. Carefully, she unfolded an old, faded receipt. It was from that tiny cafe. I kept this. The paper was worn nearly transparent. I carried it everywhere. My eyes filled with tears. I don't understand. You changed my life. No. Yes. She smiled gently. You probably forgot that day before. Dinner. I never forgot. Silence settled between us. I spent years hoping I'd see you again. But then you became Lily's friend. I know. Why didn't you tell me? She laughed softly. Because every time I tried, I got nervous. The confident Ava, she disappears around you. We both laughed. For the first time all evening, it felt natural. She looked at me. You always thought I ignored you. I kind of did. I wasn't ignoring you. What were you doing? Trying not to embarrass myself. That earned another laugh. I had the biggest crush on you. For years? For years. And I never noticed. You were wonderfully oblivious. Over the following weeks, we kept seeing each other. Not because of the auction, because we genuinely enjoyed each other's company. We discovered how much we had in common. Late-night conversations became morning. Sunrises. Coffee turned into road trips. Road trips turned into traditions. Somewhere along the way, we stopped wondering where things were headed. Simply enjoyed every step together. Lily, of course, eventually cornered me one afternoon. I have a question. Oh, no! Did my best friend really have a crush on you this entire time? Apparently. She burst into laughter so hard she nearly dropped her phone. I cannot believe I never noticed. Neither can I. She shook her head. You two are ridiculous. Maybe we were. Months later, the Children's Hospital invited everyone back for a celebration honoring the fundraiser. The event had raised a record-breaking amount. The organizers asked several participants to speak. To my complete surprise, Ava walked onto the stage. She held the microphone with trembling hands. I know many people thought I spent $2,000 because of a silly crush. The audience chuckled. The truth is, she looked at me. I was simply trying to thank someone who changed my life years ago without expecting anything in return. Every eye in the room turned toward me. You never know how one small act of kindness can change another person's future, she continued. A conversation, a smile, a cup of hot chocolate. Many people wiped away tears. So, if you're wondering whether kindness matters, she smiled. It does. It always does. The applause lasted nearly a full minute. As we left the stage together, I whispered, You know, $2,000 was way too much, she grinned. I got a bargain. 3 years later, I stood waiting at another stage. This time, it wasn't a charity auction, it was our wedding. As the doors opened, Ava walked toward me wearing the brightest smile I'd ever seen. Halfway down the aisle, she whispered just loudly enough for me to hear. Best bid I ever made. I laughed through tears, and the best decision I ever accepted. Sometimes, life changes because of grand gestures, but more often, it changes because of quiet. Moments of kindness that seem insignificant at the time. A single conversation, a warm drink, a borrowed hoodie, or one impossible bid that proved someone had believed in you long before you learned to believe in yourself. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to subscribe to Kindness of Power like this video and share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives. And before you go, tell us in the comments, which city and country are you watching from? We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, one small act of kindness can become someone else's reason to hope.